1,000 bullets, one narrow exit, no mercy. That was Jallianwala Bagh in 1919. A massacre so brutal, the ground still remembers the blood. Now imagine turning that horror into a movie and saying it is fiction. Kesari Chapter 2 does just that. It moves you, angers you, but also rewrites history. Does it honor the truth, or does it blur the lines between fact and fiction? Today on Filmland Fables, we ask how far is too far when cinema plays with the truth? The movie is ending the third week on a triumphant note. And the question we can't help asking is how far one can take artistic liberty while dealing with the tragedy, the wounds of which still ache. Karan Tyagi's Kesari Chapter 2 is not your standard history lesson. The movie is supposedly adapted from a book called The Case That Shook the Empire. But the ones who've read the book would hardly find anything similar in the movie. As per the disclaimer in the beginning of the movie, it is a pure work of fiction. But as soon as we discover it uses real life incidents and characters and cooks up a story that never occurred. Akshay Kumar plays the role of C. Shankaran Nair, an Indian lawyer who was initially a supporter of the British. He was the only Indian in the Viceroy's Executive Council and was knighted by the empire. However, after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, he resigned from his post and years later wrote a book in which he specifically blamed the policies of Michael O'Dwyer for causing unrest in Punjab that eventually led to the massacre. For this very reason, Nair was sued by O'Dwyer for defamation. The jury ruled against Nair and he was ordered to pay rupees 50,000, a princely sum for those times. However, though through this lawsuit, Nair was able to get international attention to the atrocities of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Now, if you walk into the movie theatre hoping to watch a faithful narrative of all this on screen, you're in for a surprise. The film seems to be taking not only a dramatic but also a selective approach, even fusing timelines. Characters like Ananya Pandey's Dilpreet Gill, inventive. Key conversations and courtroom dramatics, highly stylized. For the record, General Dyer was never tried in any court for genocide. The libel suit has been turned into a genocide case. Now, before we move further, we need to understand the difference between Reginald Dyer and Michael O'Dwyer because they are often confused owing to their similar kind of names. Reginald Dyer was the brigadier general who marched into the Jallianwala Bagh and ordered firing, hence directly responsible for the massacre. That is why he is called the Butcher of Amritsar. Whereas Michael O'Dwyer was the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab at that time who gave the administrative backing and support. He later publicly defended the massacre and said it was a necessary act to teach Indians a lesson. In 1940, Shaheed Udham Singh made sure that Michael O'Dwyer paid the price for it with a bullet in London. Yes, Udham Singh assassinated Michael O'Dwyer. Now, Kesari Chapter 2 seems to be adding to the confusion. Therefore, it is neither fiction nor history, but history rewritten and at times distorted. When creative liberties overshadow factual complexity, there is a danger of shaping public memory around dramatized versions rather than historical truths. Let's talk about what the film gets right, because Kesari Chapter 2 doesn't just tell a story, it makes you feel it. Apart from the stellar performances from the cast and a compelling soundtrack, what really works for the film is the fact that it captures the emotional truth of the massacre, even if it is not factual. The Jallianwala Bagh sequence doesn't sensationalize, it just devastates. Though the comparisons with Shujit Sircar's Shaheed Udham are inevitable in this movie too, you see the panic and the dead ends, and you feel the screams in your chest. And in moments like those, you understand why this story needed to be told again. In the courtroom, Akshay Kumar's Shankaran Nair channels that grief into rage. His monologues might be theatrical, but they hit hard. Not because of what he says, but because of what he represents, a nation finally speaking back to its oppressors. The film doesn't flinch from the horror, it leans into it. Some sequences feel like cut punches, families clutching each other as bullets rain down, people desperately climbing the walls, the children watching their parents blown to pieces by the unrelenting gunfire, the silence and grief in the aftermath. The decision to intercut these with courtroom testimonies is clever. While a lawyer argues how the protesters were terrorists, the audience is looking at children bleeding out in a garden. The film stares the horror in the face and walks right into it. It doesn't hold back. It immerses you in the violence, the grief, the injustice. Kesari 2 has resonated with the audience, particularly those interested in patriotic dramas. The film has received positive reviews and had shown strong office numbers despite a slow start. The movie has its heart in the right place. It is not a propaganda film. Full marks to the director Karan Tyagi, the Harvard-educated lawyer, for crafting a courtroom battle that's both taut and gripping. Kesari Chapter 2 may not get every historical detail right, but what it does get right is the emotion, the heartbreak, the injustice, and the rage. Because sometimes the facts may fade, but feelings, they stay. And maybe, just maybe, that is what cinema is meant to do, to stir, to provoke, and to remind us of the stories that should never be forgotten. If you like this episode, subscribe and stay with us for more stories that go beyond the screen, only on Filmland Fable.